is there. Can you hear me? Wow, people are already showing up. Melissa, can you hear me? Melissa, you're on mute. There, I unmuted you. Well, I can't, I guess. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I had my computer speakers muted too, so I was trying to deal with that. So, hello, good morning.
You should be able to hear me.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hang on, I can see what's going on. One sec. Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. All right, see which is better. I'm going to change to a better mic. Is this a better mic? Can you hear me better?
No, talk again.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. Check.
That one, do the other one. That one sounded like it.
Okay. Then there's
Yeah.
this one. How's this one? Check 1, 2. And then the other option is, this is the one that's closest to me.
I like that one.
Okay, stick with this one then. And we're already recording. You want to put, are you going to run the actual presentation for me?
I hadn't planned on it, but I can.
Up to, well, yeah, why don't you run it?
Okay.
I heard that Sai, you want me to do it?
No, I just wasn't ready.
Well, just put it in the chat. I'll do it. I just don't have it in front. I don't know which one we're
Okay.
using. I've done this so quickly that I can see people are showing up. We'll get started in just a bit. Thank you for coming early. For those of you that wouldn't mind muting. Awesome. All right, I'll just run the video, Melissa.
Okay, did you get the link?
I did.
Okay.
So I'll double check it with you here real fast and we can get going. You should be looking at it in just a minute. Oh, did it open it up in Sys? Yeah, it is. Never mind. Keeps doing this. It keeps opening everything in Edge because I changed over, had a problem with Chrome. And so Edge won't take the full screen when you run it. So 1 second. All right. Do you see it now? Well, it says loading, so give it a second.
It's still the browser window.
All right, 1 sec. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. We'll just wait till everyone to show up and we'll get started. Hey, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep, hearing loud and clear.
All right. Are you able to see the screen okay?
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin, while we're waiting here, so the shelter in place or whatever they put out yesterday, have you heard anything from Crayons? It said that banks weren't part of that, right?
Right. Banks are exempted as a necessary, you know, a necessary part of even the emergency plan. So, you know, they tried to assure everybody too that ATMs will not be short on cash so that we don't have the same situation with ATMs that we have with groceries today. So,
Why are people taking out cash? That's one I've been struggling with. And I saw a note on CNN that basically said, don't take out cash. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know I mean, you have to physically go somewhere to use it unless you're paying like third parties, I guess.
Well, I think they're, you know, just in the typical panic that's been going on out here that people are starting to withdraw cash just so that they have something negotiable if, you know, it's instinct going back to earthquakes and saying, well, we don't have power, so ATMs don't work. So um, so it's why are people hoarding toilet paper too? I don't really
Well, they
understand.
did say one of the early signs is diarrhea, just saying.
Yeah,
But maybe that's what they're going to do with the cash.
it could be.
Um, no, I don't know. So Kevin, just for everybody listening, you're in Huntington Beach, California.
Yep.
So, and governor mandated, I think is it this evening or was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
And I saw something that basically his stats projected that 56% of the 40 million people in California would have it.
Yes,
Said?
that's his latest estimate.
Even with this sheltering in place, or does that meant to reduce that?
That's meant to reduce that.
Okay, but if we did nothing, that's where we'd hit.
Yeah. And the biggest issue in he
We'll
said,
see.
you know, because
Is
there
it Bunny
has
Hoods?
been such a lack of
Huh?
Is
testing,
it Bunny Hood?
that
Yes.
I'm not following Bunny Hood.
Oh,
Hey, if you're
okay.
just joining, I'll mute you. There you go. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
so he was talking about the fact that so many people have not been tested, that that basically they're having to take a guess, rather than get everyone tested and have actual numbers. They're basically limited to have the estimates at this point.
And you yourself were pretty sick, and you went in, and they told you you weren't worthy of a test,
Right.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, for me, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, and you know, the scariest numbers yesterday, you know, for the last couple of weeks, you've been hearing that it's mostly affecting the elderly. Yesterday, there was some large percentage now that it is between 20 and 54, that supposedly have been exposed.
Yeah, I saw a terrible note about a California man who went to Walt Disney World a couple of weeks ago. He was like 34, and I just got back from there, and yeah, that was it's talked about the struggles he had breathing and the ventilator and everything else, and so that's a horrible situation to be in.
Yeah.
And
This is Kirk. I think those numbers that you're referring to are 20 to 54-year-olds are now 40% of the hospitalized patients.
so it turns out old people just aren't susceptible. It turns out
Well,
they're
you know,
impervious to
I'm rooting for that.
it. Given your demographic.
Giving my demographic and being in New York. We just
Yeah,
shut down.
yeah.
The state just shut down. I don't know if you just saw the announcement. It came across.
No.
11:45 or so. New York has taken the California approach. Nobody is to leave their houses, basically.
So next,
Is
yeah,
that
how long
except
bef-
for essentials like?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
I think grocery store, pharmacy, healthcare workers, police and fire kind of things.
Yeah.
But
what about banks?
Banks are
You know,
also exempt.
banks are
as here.
essential, but everything around here that I know of, Bethpage, Jovia, which used to be NEFCU, they're all in the process of either closing some of their branches or all their branches.
Yeah, Kevin, I was talking to Rudy yesterday about the fact that California doesn't have a lot of drive-throughs or drive-ups. It's so if you close the lobby, I guess the best thing you could do is let people in one at a time or something. I don't know, because I guess that just isn't a thing out there is drive-ups. I remember when I worked there, it wasn't.
Well, we have the environmental issues that we've had here. That's caused it always to be a challenge to have drive-ups here.
All right, well, we've hit our participant number here. There are 20 people logged in. I want to just take a minute and thank you. For everyone who was just listening, you're listening to Kevin Sarber, who is the president of Best Innovation Group, and also former EVP of Westcom, or pardon me, SVP of Westcom Credit Union, and someone who has run call centers, those sorts of things. I asked him to join. The other one was Kirk Kordaleski, former CEO of Bethpage, and senior consulting partner here at Big as well, who's joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I know none of you have time. So we'll get through this together and I'll talk a bit. I'm not sure if Mike's going to show up. So, but if he does, we'll catch up with him when he gets here. But welcome to the CU Digital Town Hall. This one is the Friday one, and I'm excited to, not excited, but I want to get it started here. So a little bit about the format. You know, we've limited the registration to 20 credit unions. I'm not sure we completely have 20 here right now, just because, you know, people have been busy and it's been a little bit of a, we're trying to get better at the scheduling of this. So I know it's been, certain people have been in and out. But we have, we've got 20 credit unions. I'm going to do a quick introduction and show you a few things on how to use Zoom that I really want to make sure you understand. And then every credit union will be introduced one by one, and you'll have 5 minutes to discuss whatever it is you want to discuss. If you need help, if you've got something that's working, as much as we can. I generally would have this speak in alphabetical order. It may or may not work that way. We'll see. So far it hasn't, but we'll see how it goes. If you feel like that you need to reach out, someone says something and you feel like, wow, I'm in that same situation, or hey, I have some ideas I want to share with them, or excuse me, you know, anything that you can bring up that may be very valuable, we're going to teach you how to get in touch with them so you can share information. If there's information that a broader audience should know, for example, someone says something and you've got a link to a website or something that you think everybody could make use of, please put that in the everyone chat, which I'll show you how to do. If something comes up that needs to be a longer format, like a bigger discussion, we're actually going to flip those over to Mike. For instance, on Wednesday, we had Tom Shea from Aspire, and he brought up some good regulatory concerns. For instance, Reg D, whether or not to waive that right now. So that's a good question, and maybe a longer discussion is necessary. We will be recording and publishing these. There's already 2 out there. And we're actually making them a little more visible. But if you want to go back and watch the previous ones, they're going to be out there, plus this one. And what that means is if you have something confidential that you don't think should be shared with a wider audience, we'd ask you not to do that. But we hope that won't stop you from being candid and sharing what's going on here. Here's the first thing I need you to do is we'd like for everyone to check in via the chat. And so my assistant Melissa will be monitoring the chat. And what I want to do is you can see that if you're looking at the Zoom, and some of you may have a full screen going. So in order to see this sort of the little thing, you might have to put your cursor down here because it kind of goes away and comes back. But as you can see, there's a little button that says chat, and it should open a little window on the right-hand side. You can see that when you send something, there's a little drop down. If it says everyone, everyone's going to see that. If you do the drop down and you choose a particular person, for instance, someone who's speaking, and you want to, chat with them or share information, that's what we encourage you to do. That's what this is all about. Right now, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like for everyone to just sort of sign in, roll call, if you will, in the everyone. Just put in, your name and your credit union and say here or whatever, so that Melissa can get a sense of who's here and not. We've had a lot of folks who've been able to join, some folks who have not had the time but signed up, and so it's good to know who's here. So if you'll just take a minute and go ahead out to the chat and start typing that in. Want to make it also lets us know that you know how to use it, and if you have questions, we can help with that. But the chat's a good way to go for us to monitor kind of what's going on here and see exactly, for you guys, who's here and who's not. So I'll kind of bring us to the next slide. So if you'll start doing that, that would be great. Melissa will kind of check you in, and then I'll know who's here and who's not. So another thing just to know, and I got to get out there today, I haven't yet. I know Kevin's also sort of frequenting this. We started a forum. We've never had a forum on our website before. Put it up immediately, and it's a place to keep this discussion going if you want. You're welcome to go to, and there's no cost or anything. It's big-fintech.com/CU Digital Town Hall. It's also right in our front page, so you can find it. Just click on the Digital Town Hall. And if you want to keep these discussions going in an open forum, you're welcome to do that. So you can go out there and grab that. So I'm going to give you a couple things that I have seen and Kevin and I experienced when we were at Westcom during the 2008 downturn, which this bears a strong likeness to in many ways. And so when everything crashed and burned at the previous credit union I was at, one of the things I immediately started looking was, what could I watch for that would predict a member who would soon have trouble paying their loans or having issues in general? The challenge is that when members would get into financial trouble, they wouldn't call the credit union necessarily first. And what we discovered during that downturn is the first person to get to them is going to really be the ones that get to help them. And for those of you that are on the call, if you could mute, I'll hang on a second here. I see it. I'll mute it. There we go. All right. So there's a few people that that don't want to discuss, and that's okay. So with that in mind, you know, what could be something that we find early? And what we discovered was, and this says remote deposit, but what it really means is direct deposit. So note for Melissa, I got to fix that. But if the member has direct deposit and it suddenly stops, it's probably a good time to reach out to them. And I know Doug Burke and I were talking about maybe even a service to do that for some of the credit unions. Because when the direct deposit stops, that's generally in this situation means that they're not being paid. And that's a good time to talk to them, try to help them. So something simple you can do, hopefully. The follow-up to that is Skip-a-Pay. So I remember Kevin at our previous job together yelling at me, Skip-a-Pay needs to be done now and you know, year round right now. And it was an important thing. He was right, because the people who could go in and skip those payments, you know, particularly if you had a credit card or a car or both, being able to skip those two payments could mean $500, $600, $700 extra to the household. And that could be the difference between, you know, making it through this to when whatever government stuff kicks in or unemployment or whatever happens, and it's a huge win. It's also something that the members will remember. We've heard from many members in the previous town halls or many credit unions that they're waiving the fees for these as well, which I guess, you know, that's a good thing as well. So this to me seemed like a pretty simple win. And those, by the way, you know, we at Big are going through the same thing. A lot of the projects and things that we have are not projects that are going to be high priority right now, like our voice solutions and things like that. So we're retooling. We have a lot of credit union professionals that have years and years in programming, years and years in project management, years and years of experience in running credit unions. And so we're kind of shifting around. And so if you need help with either of these two things, if you decide it's a good idea, we absolutely can help you. We have experience in all the home banking platforms and most of the cores, just in even writing these reports or things like that. So that's as much as I'll say about that. Some of what we're seeing happening right now is credit unions are closing their lobbies. And we think that's probably a good idea. But as we were just discussing, there are many credit unions in California that don't, you know, they're closing their lobbies in favor of drive-throughs. I don't know what that means. But for the folks in California who cannot close in that regard. But we're seeing, you know, pretty much daily. And one of the things I wanted to point out is you will get a survey from us, and it's going to be, I don't know if Tim's on the call, but it's going to be from a Gmail account. I think it's bigcreditsurvey@gmail.com or something like that. It's quickly thrown together. It's a Google form. But if you would fill it out, we're going to take all that information and put it out there so that there's a database of what people are doing. We're going to put it out for free. So you can see, you know, what other credit unions in your area are doing in terms of closing or, you know, PTO, you know, are they letting people go into debt on PTO, those sorts of things. So we'll be sharing that for sure.
So John, just a quick update. I did send that survey out to all the folks that signed up. I sent it from my personal big-cu.org account. If you did not receive one, please send me an email at tim@big-cu.com.
Okay.
And
You'll
I'll
put that in the chat?
window. I'll put that in the chat window. If you did not receive that, it's probably, we may have gotten some whitelisting issues or whatever. So thank you.
All right. So he'll put that in the chat in case it would really be helpful. We plan on sharing this widely, and knowing what others are doing is, we think, the most important thing. So now it's time to go through and do the 5 minutes for each credit union. And like I said, talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. If someone is interested in partnering with you or whatever you need, remember to use the chat to reach out. And with the chat, you can go through and you could talk to them directly. What we want to encourage here is collaboration as much as possible. So Todd, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and give us 5 minutes of whatever you want to talk about, man.
All right, I appreciate it. We are in Lower Alabama, and so at this point we have not been impacted greatly. Actually, we don't have many cases in our area. We do stretch out pretty wide, but we have just, the executive team's a meeting basically every other day, and we decided this morning that we are starting Monday going to drive-through only. A lot of other FIs in our area are doing the same thing. We are also instituting skip-a-pay extensions, anything to help our members. We have a service where members can pay online or by phone for their loan payments, and we have traditionally charged for that. So we're waiving that charge for everyone. And then we're also instituting an emergency loan for folks who may need it. And so for us, it's a different environment than I think it seems just to be coming here later, but we're trying to stay ahead of this thing. And so really for us, it's for those that have been in the situation longer, some more information just about the how the branches are doing for those that have gone to drive-through only or maybe taken additional measures. Kind of how well is that going or not going? What challenges are you facing that have come along with that maybe was unexpected?
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And I'll share just a little bit on that, and then we can let others talk since you still have 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. And I want to ask you a couple questions. So first up, the questions. So the thing that is interesting to me, you say you're not affected yet. Do you feel like that's lack of testing, or do you feel like just, because you're more rural?
I think it's both. We definitely, what's happening here is for folks that go to get tested, if doctors feel like it's a possibility you may have this, they're actually just sending you home and quarantining you. There is testing happening, but it's very little. And so we're definitely taking that into account also and trying to make the best decisions we can. Gotcha.
So what we've heard, and I know Gary Coates, I don't know if he's on this one or if he's going to be on the next one, but Gary from Unitas, they have really been doing the branch thing. They shut down their lobbies, and we had some discussion about that yesterday. A lot of things coming from that, in terms of the drive-throughs, and even still making sure that the employees that are inside the lobbies are wearing gloves or have access to cleaning supplies, because those pneumatic tubes are getting handled by everybody as well. The other thing that was discussed was relocating call center employees to some of the branches to spread them out, to make sure. One fear that we hear from a lot of credit unions is if one person in the call center is then diagnosed or test positive, then everybody around them is also going to be quarantined, and that could devastate some of the credit unions' call centers. So they were using some of the branches in their call center technology to spread them out a bit, since the lobbies are closed, and to keep the numbers under 10. So that's a few things that I heard. I'm sure others will speak to that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Yeah, we have a training building that's next to our operations center. That's a separate building. We're moving about a third of our contact center there, and then with the drive up, moving to drive ups only, we're going to have some of the inside branch personnel handle some of the contact center calls to help with that also.
Makes sense. Todd, what's your position?
I'm the vice president of lending.
Got it. Okay. Fantastic. So one last question, since we still have 56 seconds. Tell me a little bit about this relief loan. That's something we hear about, but we're not hearing a ton about.
Yeah, so we have been looking at what to do there. So for us, we're doing a loan, unsecured loan that's for 1 month of income and using some loose verification around that, around pay stubs, W-2s, direct deposit, you know, if you're self-employed, tax returns, that kind of thing. But max loan amount up to $3,000, and it'd be for 24 months with 60 days till your first payment.
0%
And then we
interest?
have some, no, actually at 7.99.
Okay.
And then we have some loose, a certain, if you're above a certain credit score in DTI, you're automatically approved, regardless of other measures, other items we may normally take into account. And even if it's below those, we still have the option. They can send it to what we call a lending manager to get it approved still.
Well, that's great. I think that's exactly what people need. And it's, you know, sounds like you guys really scrambled to get that out, which is fantastic. So congratulations on that. I'm sure others will have conversations. I know that one of the things that we had discussion about is whether or not those, what do you call it, those loans should be 0%, and I don't know. All right. So Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, and hopefully someone will reach out to you and share more information, or you'll hear more information. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Let me get my presentation rolling here again. And I believe it's going to be in my neck of the woods, Arapahoe Credit Union.
All right, are you able to hear me?
I am. Thank you so much.
I'm ready.
And introduce yourself if you don't mind. And also notice that your asset size and whatnot is here on the screen, so you don't need to worry about that.
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Jason Salazar. I'm the AVP of Operations of Arapahoe Credit Union. And just to kind of point out what we are doing throughout this whole madness, very similar to what the other person was saying, we are working with our members on our loans, you know, doing skip payments, extensions, modifications, those types of things to help them out in the time of need. We have recently, as of yesterday, went to drive up only because we only have a drive up in one of our branches. So that is the only way we are helping members currently, other than the share branching network and our ATMs as well, and the ATM network as well. We are, I would say about 80 to 90% of our employees are working remotely now from home. The only people that are in our branch right now are currently our tellers and our branch managers. So they are processing night drop on the hour. And we're encouraging our members to utilize our night drops if they don't go to one of our branch that actually has a drive up. And we are also
Night drops is a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Even
so,
if it's not for business, right? Because a lot of those are usually for business, but everybody could use it.
Right. So we're checking, normally we only check that once a day, but we're promoting that we're checking that on the hour. So like people don't really have to interact with staff. They can literally just drop their stuff off and leave and know that it's going to get deposited and within the hour. We are also waiving fees on loan payments over the phone, which is something that we normally charge for. We are working to kind of help people with fees if necessary. You know, if they're getting fees based on the fact that they're not being paid or anything like that. And I'm trying to think. There's a lot going on here.
No, I understand.
I think that's pretty much it for right now. I mean, we're trying to stay on top of this. I mean, the area where I am starting to worry about is if we end up getting mandated to completely shutdown is how that will look for, keeping staff engaged and keeping them busy, especially our teller staff, because our tellers are, their job is based on the people walking through the door, and the amount of members that come through. So once they're not busy with that, we only have so much projects and things like that we can do to keep them busy.
Yeah, so that'd be good to know if anybody else is kind of has ideas and projects of those sorts of things. One thing you mentioned, since we have a few minutes left, I want to just ask a few questions. One
Sure.
is on the teller line and the folks that are there. How many branches do you have? Did you say it's
So
two?
we have two in branch locations, and then we also have our administration building, which our virtual branch works out of, which is our call center. So yeah, two walk-in branches.
Okay. So yeah, that's the reason I was thinking about that was that so a lot of people are talking about letting staff go in debt on PTO. And if you did have to, if Colorado announces tomorrow, similar to California and New York, you'll be paying for the people that go home?
So I believe our plan is that we would allow them to use their personal time off that they've accrued, and if they didn't have it, then unfortunately we would just pay. They would go unpaid, as far as I'm aware for right now. But I will have to be honest, I'm not too involved in that situation to know the ins and outs of that.
Oh, and I forgot to ask your position. I'm sorry. Did you say it?
I'm the AVP of operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other thing is a lot of credit unions have followed the NCUA guidelines in terms of raising the limits on ATMs and relaxing fees or whatnot. Is that something you guys are looking at as well?
So we kind of already have our daily ATM limits pretty higher than most institutions. So we are kind of doing that on a case by case scenario. So if somebody needs a little bit of a higher. Another thing I did forget to mention is that we have lowered our cash withdrawal limit to 3,000, just based on the increased need in cash from the panic that people are going through right now. We were getting a lot of people wanting to just kind of cash out their whole entire accounts. I think this whole thing kind of makes people panic a bit and thinking that their money is safer in their pocket than it's actually safer at an institution. So to kind of mitigate that piece of it, we lowered it to 3,000 daily for our members. We're also increasing our cash volume of ordering up to 3 times per week, which we were only doing it once per week to try to make sure we're keeping enough cash on hand, because we are now increasing our ATMs to the max. We're putting quite a bit of money in our ATMs right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. And for those of you, Jason, please check your chat in case somebody reached out to you, maybe Todd, since you're planning on closing your branches. And for those of you that want to chat with him, find Jason in the list there and share information. And thank you so much for taking the time to come today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
One thing just on the ATMs before I get to the next one, I'll share some things we're learning from other things is, Kevin Sarber, I might throw this at you for just a second. The amount of time that you sanitize an ATM, and Kevin, I know you were in charge of many of them for many, many, many years. The other thing is I expect to get some guidance on the ATMs with that many people using them. I have to think there's concern about that. I'm hoping that maybe we should be advising people to bring your own wipes and wipe down the ATM before you use it. Kevin, thoughts?
I think that's a great idea, John. I know ATMs has been an issue that's being discussed quite a bit as a way to service the members without them having to come inside the branch. But as you know, trying to find disinfectant wipes these days is a big challenge. So asking the members to kind of chip in and bring their own as a defensive position is probably a really good idea.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I had heard some folks talk about, and I was going to ask you about this, is, we're having our people who normally clean them sanitize them as well. How often are those things actually cleaned, Kevin? I knew about how often they were maintenance, but how often would you have them cleaned?
It was either every 4 weeks or every 6 weeks, so it's not gonna help in
It's not
that
going to help even if
situation.
you did it every day, because right
Right.
after it's cleaned, it's going to be
It's
dirty
part
again.
of the, yeah, it's part of the branch checklist that they were supposed to wipe down the ATM every day, but if you don't have someone, standing by every time it's used to wipe it down, you're really probably not making a huge difference.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. I knew you knew a bit about that. I'd like to welcome Melissa from Blue Eagle. So Melissa, if you could unmute. And don't forget to tell us your position and know that your stuff's up here. Is Melissa still with us? Got a couple Melissas, so I don't know which one's which. All right. We're going to go to Mark again. Mark, welcome back. Thanks for joining again. So we'll jump over to Heartland. Mark, share what's going on.
All right. Well, my name again is Mark Holstein. I'm the Director of Business Relations for Heartland Credit Union Association. We serve credit unions in the states of Missouri and Kansas. And not much has really changed since the other day. We are continuing to have our field staff conduct calls like every other day with the credit unions in their regions that they serve. It's just a open forum where credit unions can speak to each other, best practices, what's going on. We're finding, like all of you, that more and more credit unions are closing their lobbies and serving members through the drive-through. If they do keep their lobbies open, it's by appointment only. Certain things can't be done through the drive-through, or they're really harder to do. They're making sure that their websites have on their main page what's going on, and if anything changes, they are putting that on their website so their members can stay informed. Some of the credit unions that do not have drive up, two that I'm aware of so far, are limiting the number of members that can be in their lobby at any given time. And they're monitoring that at the door. And so, one was at 5 was the most. And I think it is based on, how much space they have in their lobby. But they do not have drive-throughs, and, some of them, one of them just has one branch, and they serve the members of the St. Louis County. And so they are just, monitoring it. They've, one, adjusted their hours where their lobby's only going to be open from, a lot shorter period of time. They're making sure their members know other resources to get their money, ATM. Some are if they had a fee, they're waiving that. They're increasing their dollar limits. They are, if they're part of the shared branch network, they're reminding their members that there is those shared branches that they can go to. Our field staff, we did this last week, but I didn't mention it. We're not letting our folks go out, and we're restricting, travel. We're just trying to all work remotely, except for our item processing department, which can't. But we are having at least one person or having one person basically be at home, just in case somebody that works gets ill, and we'd have to then wouldn't have anybody. So we're kind of keeping somebody in reserve, kind of worst case scenario type thing. I think that's it that I have since our last call.
No, that's great. I mean, a lot of people weren't on that last call, so I'm real thankful you signed up again, and keep coming. I think that there's no amount of information that's bad in this situation. So interesting, the one branch lobby and the shortened lobby hours. That's an interesting, I haven't heard that one, but we know that other retailers are doing that, but it's more to restock. But shortened lobby hours is probably not a horrible idea. One thought I was thinking too, just throwing it out there, is I saw where some retailers were having seniors only hours or something. seems like with our, I'm spitballing on the fly here. But it seems like, with the mass, most of the credit unions membership being in an older demographic, that that might be a useful thing. Like hey, and those guys get up at 4 a.m. So, open up at 6 or something and say from 6 to 7 is senior hours. No millennials allowed. We'll bounce them out with their cell phones and their crypto and all that. That might not be a bad idea. Just think it out loud.
Yeah, no, a lot of the grocery stores here in St. Louis are doing that. They're limiting, it is from 6 to 7, that the stores are doing that. Of course, a lot of them also are, you can shop online and then they'll meet your curbside or bring your groceries out to you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we say, come in early, we'll have disinfected the entire place. We're only going to let 8 seniors in at a time or whatever. And, we will, it could be something we could do. So just thinking out loud. Tim, can you unmute? Looks like you had a couple questions real fast.
Yeah, I wanted to find out from Doug or Mark what credit unions are doing related to shared branching. If their branch is down, is the shared branch network able to show that so that people aren't trying to show up at branches that aren't even open, even though the shared branch network is saying it is?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's Co-op is updating their website continually. If you go to their locator website, it'll say that on there. But we've sent out notices to all our shared branch credit unions saying if you're going to close your lobby or if you're closing a branch because it doesn't have a drive-through, you need to notify Co-op so that they can keep their website as up to date as humanly possible. But and before this call, I was actually kind of doing that myself. I was going through all of our participating credit unions and seeing their website and making sure that those that have not contacted Co-op will do so, or I'll do it based on the information from their website, because you're right, it's frustrating if you're a member and you say, according to the website, this credit union is lobby's closed, but drive-through is okay for share branching, and then they get there and it's not the case. They've, decided that the lobby, or they can't handle it, because some credit unions, if they close their lobby, their drive-ups are going to be, out the door, and they're going to want to serve their own members first. And Co-op does not require that credit unions serve share branching through their drive-through. So there probably will be some cases where it's going to be just their own members through drive-through if it gets to that point.
That's a great question, Tim. Thanks. Thanks, Mark. We're going to move on, make sure we get to everybody, but thank you so much. If you have questions for Mark, please feel free to reach out and use the chat to do so. Amy, I believe from Security Service Federal Credit Union, also I think in my neck of the woods as well. I know we have a few here in Colorado Springs and in Denver. Amy, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. And let us know your position. And you're a huge credit union, so be very excited, not exciting, but it'll be interesting to hear what you guys are facing. So thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Amy, and I work for Security Service as the training manager. So I am thankful that I got invited to this town hall just to hear all the different things. It's been very insightful. To start off, we are doing the same emergency loan, offering that to our members. We do offer that at 3.99. One of the stipulations is if they're a member at least for 90 days, that is automatically approved. But if they need a request over a certain amount, then it can go through the regular approval process.
What's the amount? Just wondering.
The automatic amount is up to 1,000.
Okay.
And then anything over that, 1,001 to 2,500, that one requires approval.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Let's see. You guys have touched on a lot of good things. We are also doing we're pushing for the drive-through. Anything that they cannot do via the drive-through, then we are directing them to the branch, limiting the number of folks as well. I did hear that. And I am in training. So one of the things that we're also doing is member service folks that can be at the branch, we are having them trained on how to take phone calls. So we do have a call center. More members are inclined to call versus going to the branch right now just for general questions. And we want to be able to support them. So as they're calling in, they can get a regular call center agent. We've built in a special queue where the branches can actually answer those phone calls as well. So I thought that was helpful. In one day, they were able to answer up to 1,000 calls by the support from the branches.
That sounds very helpful, and it also lessens that size. So if you don't mind me asking, how many folks work at Security Service Federal Credit Union?
We are at 1,000.
Thought so. It was a number I
Yeah,
was thinking of.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
with-
We're a big family.
Yeah, and so your call center, we were talking to Hudson Valley. Now, keep in mind they're in Poughkeepsie, and so they are in the eye of the storm, really. Well, not the eye, that would be calm, but they're in the storm. You know, they were socially distancing even their call center and spreading people out. When I think of a organization your size, I got to imagine there's 30, 40, 50 people in a call center that probably usually are not, I wouldn't say close quarters, but they certainly aren't spread out as I remember them. There was a floor of a call center usually.
No, we've done very well at social distancing there, including our back offices. Somebody earlier mentioned utilizing training. We have several training labs, and even in the classroom, they're spread out in there as well. And folks that cannot be here, we understand that. We've also implemented a rotation schedule. So if per se, you know, we don't really need you to be working right now, you can be on call. If we need you to come in, then we'll bring them in. And then a lot of remote. So interesting enough, we have a lot of people doing that. It's working out pretty well there. Social distancing. Oh, our training, we have to keep that going, right? So a lot of the branches didn't have, okay, how to log into the phone, how to receive that.
Yeah, they've never had to do it before. I was going to ask that. Like, wow, they took 1,000 calls. That's very impressive. And
Yeah.
what
So
kind
we
of phone
call it,
system too? I'd be interested as well. To know.
yes. Oh, absolutely. We use a Avaya hard phone
Okay.
system, and we also have a program called Presence where they can actually do the answering of the calls right on their computer, so they don't have to use the hard phone.
Got it. And you were just about to say, sorry about the.
Oh, that's okay. So training, we did have some, as everything started to happen, we had some new hires that were already joining us, and we wanted to offer training for them. We've turned to Skype training, Skype for Business, and is going really well because we're just trying to figure out as we're training the new hires, these are tellers, that they can get all the tools that they need. So we're being creative, still trying to keep it engaging, and a lot of, you know, sharing the PC so they can practice transactions before they actually get out there. And then we'll make sure that the management knows, hey, you know, they need to observe more, maybe side by side, but they'll get the gist of it. They're going to be confident in what they're doing. So the Skype for training is what we're doing. The branches, we're going to bring them in. We're going to train 111 employees that have not done it before, or maybe it's just a refresher for them. And that will kick off here in a few sessions. We're
Nice.
excited about that.
So one of our previous town halls, one of the Crayons brought up the fact that TechSmith, which is the maker of Camtasia, is basically cutting the price or even making it free for a while. And they were saying that they were taking like those Skype things that you're doing and
Yes.
recording those. So even if you couldn't get on with somebody, they could go in and watch one of those videos of you training someone else. They were also saying they were doing that with key employees who they were worried that if they got sick, some of their skill set, they might not have a complete backup for. So.
Okay, and you said that was TechSmith?
Yep, I'll put it in the chat window. It's techsmith.com. Yeah, it's called Camtasia. Really good product. You can make really quality videos with it. And yeah,
I
So,
love that. That's one of the things is we don't want to miss this opportunity. We want to capture and then go back and debrief. What did we do? What did we like? What can we do better? We hope that this doesn't last, but we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns, and that's okay. At this point, we're still trying to offer that support from a training aspect. And then just on a lighter note, we do also have our Total Wellbeing has sent out a workout program. So those that are working from home, they can still get up, move around. It's a lot of not just staying still. We've got to be mobile, right?
yeah,
Sorry, I think I
that's a good point.
took more time than I was supposed to.
It's okay. Well, thank you very much. And sounds like you have a wealth of information. So if you want to reach out to Amy, you can find her in the list. And now we're going to go to Paul from Payveris. Paul, if you wouldn't mind, I got to find, there it is. I know you guys are a QSO. And so Paul, let us know what's going on. Did we lose Paul? Oh, Chris from Payveris. I'm sorry. It's Chris. Sorry, Chris. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Can you hear
Chris.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm so sorry.
Hey. No, you kind of caught me off guard. I didn't know I was going to have a chance to speak today.
I think I know a Paul at Payveris, the company, and maybe that's stuck in my head. I'm so sorry. But thank you and welcome.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about what your
thank
QSO
you.
does, if you don't mind, just because I'm not sure everybody knows.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so Payveris is a financial technology company. We are in the business of electronic money movement behind the digital banking screens, just as a high level description. And last year we developed a QSO with our initial investor, ViStar Credit Union. Essentially what that does is it enables us to completely focus on the credit union audience, the member experience, and ultimately financial health and wellness, and building out the tools so that we can offer a better member experience in the direction of, better financial health and achieving that. So we are very invested in webinars such as this and hearing directly from credit unions about what are the concerns, what are the solutions that are being explored today and how that's going, because from a technology perspective, we want to support you, as we're building out features and functionality. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. It seems like there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that, particularly since people seem to be worried and pulling out cash, making them aware of things like, Venmo. One of the things we talked about just from a payment standpoint in one of the previous meetings was, one, is there some way to capture whatever kind of relief that the government's planning on putting in play? And also, could we create debit card programs that would encourage spending at our local restaurants in our community so that we can, help sort of self-heal in the sense of jobs and things like that. So, so we'll, I think it's good that you're here, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I just
Sure.
want to say to everybody on the call that this is a tremendous opportunity. We are very grateful to hear what you're sharing, and hopefully you'll invite us back and we can continue to participate, even if it's in a quiet method.
Sure. So we're going to go to Westera, another credit union in my neck of the woods here. And I believe we have Robert and, I got to look at the name. Sorry, one second. We have Robert and Michelle. So let me just find the, oh, was that it? Nope. Where's Westera? Do we not have one for Westera? It doesn't look like we do. But anyways, let's go ahead and Robert and Michelle, if you want to give us what's going on there.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Barr. I'm the Vice President of Retail Operations. Just to run through some points here. So we have closed our branch lobbies and we are conducting business through our drive up. Now we do have branch staff that are still deployed in our locations, and they are supporting overflow call center and online banking operations. in addition to doing other things to kind of fill time, online training. It's a good opportunity to do process and procedure review. And then we're also supporting scheduled appointments. So we're still doing that. And what we've advised our managers to do is, use discretion, because what we're seeing is, there are some requests that come through our drive-up lanes that, do require a member to come into the lobby. So we're asking our managers to exercise discretion. And if a member does need to come into the lobby, then do so. We're also providing with our branch staff mortgage team support. So they are assisting our mortgage team with doing various paperwork support. For our back office personnel, they're largely in a remote capacity, including a portion of our contact center staff. And then, just to keep things moving, we're conducting the majority of our meetings via WebEx. So that's going really well. From a communication perspective, we're having daily meetings. So our crisis management team, which is comprised of executive leadership, they're meeting on a daily basis. That information is being cascaded down to division leadership. From a retail perspective, we have daily touch point meetings. And then we also connect with our branch managers as well, just to get their feedback on what's working, what isn't, any suggestions they might have. And one thing we ran into yesterday, there was a suggestion from a couple managers, was a request from our members to do medallion signature guarantee. So by way of example, that's something that, we're going to want to try to accommodate for our members. And it also, requires them to come in the lobby to satisfy that request. Marketing and our digital teams are engaged in proactive messaging, website, online. We're also looking at different ways that we can be proactive in our calling efforts. So we're looking at getting reports. By way of example, we're looking at trying to identify those members who may not be enrolled in online banking, and then reaching out to them directly to see if we can get them enrolled so they can utilize that channel. We're actively reviewing our fee schedule to look at various fees that we can suspend. We do have Skip-a-Pay in place. We're looking at various lending options, looking at increasing ATM limits. So different things that we're actively looking at to try to make it a little bit easier for our members. Just some general updates from an operations perspective, we're actively reviewing our BCP and downtime processes. And obviously have a number of those in play already. We have connected with our janitorial vendor, and they are going to all of our locations to complete an electromagnetic clean of all offices. So that started a couple of days ago. Yeah, that's about it from what we're doing at Westera.
No, it sounds good. Arapahoe mentioned concern around Colorado doing a lockdown. I do think that is a possibility. And looking at the number of states that are out here, or the number of states and the levels, we are not low on the list. Colorado, for whatever reason, I think it was Gunnison and some of those mountain towns. So if that were to happen, it sounds like you're already kind of prepared for that. But what does that look like for you guys, just for Arapahoe's benefit? Have you thought through that or gamed it out?
Yeah, again, our IT department is really working diligently to get as many people remote as possible. And a few days ago, we were able to equip some of our contact center staff to be able to, serve our members in a remote capacity through the contact center. So, if it comes to that, I think we have enough remote staff that can, do things at this point outside of a branch. So we're going to continue to move forward, putting those plans in place.
So a few people want to know what kind of cleaning that was. It sounded really cool. Electromagnetic.
Yeah, it's called an electromagnetic clean. And I apologize, I don't know all the.
When it's done, will the
behind
branch still work? Is that like an electromagnetic pulse? Does it erase everything, or it sounds pretty wild?
Yeah, it's pretty thorough. From what we understand from our vendor, it kills 99.9% of everything. I do have a brochure on it, and if you'd like, I can send that out to the group, or however logistically we can get that into people's hands so they can get
Is
more
it
information on it.
something, if it's something you can email to us, we'll absolutely put it out there. But if you want to
Sure.
link it, we can do that as well.
Okay.
If you want to throw it in there. But yeah, that's really cool. I wonder if I could get them to come to my house.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could be electromagnetically cleaned. No, I think that's fascinating. Yeah, no, I think it's good to hear. I know Westera is a very large credit union. We have your branches out here in Colorado Springs where I'm at. And so it's good to hear you guys are, some of the work that's been put into remote employees and whatnot is paying off. So, and I also think we're going to see, I do think there could be possibly a lockdown out here, in my personal opinion. Take it for what it's worth, which is, that and a nickel gets you some soup, but I think that's where we are. How about, well, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out, it's Robert, right? Robert?
Correct.
You can hit him on privately, and I'm sure he'll give you his electromagnetic static cleaning brochure. Sounds like something I dry cleaning too, so that's good. And he can talk to you about that, but that's cool to hear. These are the ideas. Who knows? Maybe we can find other vendors, and maybe that's what you do before the seniors come in. That's a great idea. So let's see if Andrea from State Employees, would you mind talking, or you want to make sure you're okay with that?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine with that.
Okay, good. Let me get to your, I don't know which state employees you are. Let me find you.
New Mexico.
Oh, okay, very cool. Go ahead and you can start. I'll find it.
Basically, we're on day 2 of drive-through only and lobby by appointment only. So we're that's why I called in today, just to kind of navigate and see what everybody else was kind of doing that have been doing it for a little bit longer. So I've gotten some really great ideas and tips to take back to our senior manager staff. I'm actually the compliance officer for state employees. Sorry, I should have mentioned that at the beginning.
Awesome. Normally, I don't let compliance officers near me, but we're excited.
Neither does anybody else.
Yeah, they have COVID as far as I'm concerned from a long time ago.
Right, exactly.
No, we're anxious to hear if you have any other questions, like, for example, of the other people, or what else you guys are doing.
No, I was just actually, I was calling on here because, we're seeing more and more states closing or on a mandatory quarantine. So I wasn't sure how that was going to affect us. Does that mean, once everything is quarantined, what does that look like? You don't have any staff anymore? We are very limited with remote access right now. So that's kind of been one of the issues. So just trying to get a feel of what that would look like.
No, I think it's certainly, it sounds like more than a few people have done that already. I would also, again, and I know he's happy to talk about, it seems like Unitas Credit Union, Gary Coates, is out front. If you want to text or hit my assistant, Melissa, on the chat, she can get you his information. I know he's happy to talk and help with anyone. He's just a great guy. He sent us a lot of information this morning. And they're way out in front of that. It sounds like security service also would be someone to reach out to. Well, good. We're getting close here. Is there anyone I missed? There were a couple of people I skipped over. Is there anyone that really wanted to speak that we missed? And you'll have to unmute yourself or hit the chat. If not, I'm going to take the last few minutes. We have a couple of people who I think are very valuable to hear from, with some of these ideas and what's going on. So I'll just go ahead and, so I'd be interested. So for those of you who don't know, Kirk Kordeleski is on the call. Kirk was the CEO of Bethpage, a very large credit union, a very successful credit union. And in his spare time, he after he finished his world changing there, he decided to join us, and we're fortunate to have him. He also steered Bethpage successfully through the 2008 downturn. Given that New York just announced a complete lockdown, what do you got to share there, Kirk, if you don't mind?
Thanks, John. Yeah, it's, you look back and we've written about this recently about the last 3 extraordinary events over the last 20 years. And for New York, That was 9/11, the Superstorm Sandy that wiped out 95% of businesses for over 2 weeks, and the Great Recession. And the lessons that we took from that experience was this initial stage, and this is what's so great about what you brought to the industry in this collaborative roundtable, virtual roundtable approach. The first thing is you take care of your team and you take care of your members, and then there will be opportunities. We're coming into this with the strongest financials that the credit union industry has had, with record return on assets, low delinquency, strong capital. And there are opportunities in mortgages and other operations, particularly if there are staff that can be reassigned to those areas from the branches or wherever, or going into the call center to support that. And then, another way of looking at this on the other side of it is the opportunities that we have to transform digitally and become as good as or better than the larger financial institutions in providing digital access and using data to do that. If we take those opportunities to grab market growth potential in a couple weeks, not right away, and look at how we transform the environment in data digital, and maybe ultimately look at our branches and see if there are expense savings that can be had. If we've had poor performing branches, they'll probably perform even worse after this cycle. So it's that divided idea, that concept of working on what's essential right now, and then maybe separating a person or two within the company to think about what those opportunities are or how to help transform the organization successfully. In Bethpage's case, we were able to do that. Out of each of those cycles, we grew 20%. And then out of one of those, the Superstorm Sandy, we evolved to become the Community Institution of Long Island. So, there are opportunities under all of this extraordinary challenge. And that's the other point, John, that you've been so clear on. And that is that this is an extraordinary challenge. It is the combination of this superstorm kind of issue and an economic issue, and something we haven't seen before.
Well, thanks, Kirk. I do agree. I think this is when we can rise to the occasion. As I've always said, if I went to war, I want my credit union peeps. No one's better. And this is a good situation for us. One challenge I do find in the credit union space is we're not habitual. Like, we can do one thing and do an awesome job. But if we have to keep that up over and over again, a lot of times that's a struggle for us. I think this is something that we have to really look at, because I think we're going to have to keep repeating whatever it is we do here. And so we have to be careful that we're not sort of creating a moment inside the credit union space where the staff and everyone believe that there's some finish line, because I don't think there is. I think that this is more of a striving moment where you have to continue to keep this pressure on for some time. So that's a great point. Robert put out his electromagnetic cleaning piece in the chat in case you're interested. And just before we go, again, Kevin Sarber, who was with me at a large credit union during the 2008 crisis, I know was in the center of it. And I'm going to wrap up with a few of the comments that I got here that I thought were good. But Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add, or any thoughts based on where you are?
A lot of the things have already been covered, John, and I appreciate the opportunity. I think, looking at your Skip-a-Pay and trying to get Skip-a-Pay in place, if you don't have a way to do that, to automate that, to allow that to happen through your digital banking channels, so online or mobile banking, so that members can self-select that if they're eligible for Skip-a-Pay. Look at your fee structures for that. Can you afford to waive that for the members, which would be, very much appreciated, I'm sure, during this time. One thing we haven't talked about is, do you allow members to break CDs at this point, that they may have tied up money that they need now unexpectedly? So do you allow them to break those? And one of the most key things that we found out during that during the 2008 crisis is trying to identify your profitable members and protecting those relationships as much as you possibly can. You know, that doesn't sound like the credit union mantra of serving every member, but you definitely want to know who those members are, and definitely look for ways to make sure that those members are satisfied during this time as much as you can.
No, thank you, Kevin. I couldn't agree more. So just to wrap it up, we'd like to thank the Credit Union Service Network, who has sponsored this. Many of you are members of that network. I know Doug will be on later, but we thank you. I'd like to thank C Broadcast as well. And finally, wanted to talk, just let you know that this will be posted. Also, Glenn Servati, who works with me on the podcast, is kind of pulling out the best of the 3 we've done so far, and he'll be producing a podcast around that. Here's kind of a quick wrap up. The night drop, making use of that seemed like that was a really good idea. Waiving fees, obviously. ATMs being wiped down before you use them, maybe encouraging the members to do that. Make sure you're updating your co-op frequently in terms of your availability of your lobbies. That's going to be important for those of you that use shared branching. I really loved Security Service utilizing their training areas as a way to create more social distancing. And then the suggestion of medallion signature loans seems like that could be something that's powerful as well. So with that in mind, we encourage you to come back. We're going to keep holding these, and because we think that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There'll be more problems. Once we figured out the lobbies, what's next? And Kevin just brought up a good example about breaking CDs. We also encourage you to make sure that you fill out the information that Tim Tibbles from our company is going to send you. We're trying to create a report about what everybody's doing and where things are. And so if you'll do that, we can help everybody sort of have some data about this and what's going on. So with that, we thank you for joining us. And also, if you feel like you need some help with identifying remote deposits, Skip a Pay, we're experts at that. We have a lot of folks around here who we're doing some things that aren't going to be done right now, and we have some capacity. If you need some consulting, we'd love to work with you. That's my shameless plug for our company, but otherwise, we just want you to get what you can get out of this. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Tim, thank you. So you're following up with those right away? Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Do you think that's like one of those reports like we do with the other stuff? Like it'll be a PDF document that you put together, or do you think it'll be like an online thing?
I'll probably summarize it. Right now, the tool's not the best formatted analysis I've ever seen, so I want to be able to get that into something that's a little more readable. Right now, we're just looking at, right now when people actually get the email, I've provided them a link back to the service, their responses, as well as they're able to see the responses of everybody else in summarization.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so when they click on that, they see Google standard response analytics. It's not great. So I'll be going through.
That's the best you could do in a short notice, and it's fantastic to have right now. So I appreciate it. All right.
That was the idea. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.